Have you ever had a moment where you almost said the thing you always say? You almost reacted the way you always react. You could feel it rising, and then you didn't. Not because you stopped yourself, not because you forced a different response, but because it just didn't feel like you anymore. And maybe no one else noticed. Maybe the moment passed quietly. But something in you knew. Something shifted. And in that moment, you caught a glimpse of who you're becoming. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Soul Talk podcast, where we explore the connection between mind, body, spirit, and movement in stride. I'm Mary Beth Rim. I'm a mental health therapist. I'm a coach and someone who has spent decades helping people understand themselves. But more importantly, helping them learn how to live what they understood. Not because insight is powerful, but integration, that's where your life actually changes. And this Living Forward series is really about that. Not fixing yourself, not becoming someone new, but learning how to live from the version of you that is already quietly emerging. And before we go any further, if this work resonates with you, if you find yourself returning to these conversations and meditations, I want to personally invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss what's coming next. Because this isn't something you listen to once. This is something you practice. And you practice it every single day. And it's something you come back to as you begin to notice yourself changing. So today, we're not talking about the big breakthroughs. We're not talking about the moments where everything becomes clear. We're talking about something much quieter and honestly, much more powerful. The moment you realize you're not the same person anymore. So let's talk about the change that you don't notice right away. Here's what most people expect when they think about change. They expect it to feel obvious, big, defining, like a moment where you can point to it and say, that's when everything changed. But real change, the kind that actually lasts, it rarely looks like that. It looks like answering a message without overthinking it for an hour, letting someone have their opinion without needing to correct it, walking away from something that once would have pulled you in feeling discomfort and not immediately trying to escape it. And here's the part that's easy to miss. Those moments, they don't feel dramatic. They feel normal. And that's exactly why they matter. So why this can feel disorienting? Because there's something else that happens here. Something subtle, but important. When you stop reacting the way you used to, there can be this quiet question underneath it all. Who am I now? Because so much of identity is built around patterns, how you respond, how you relate, what you say yes to, what you tolerate, what you carry. And when those patterns begin to shift, even in small ways, it can feel like the ground is moving just a little bit beneath you. Not in a dramatic way, but enough that you notice. And sometimes that can feel uncomfortable. And I want to say this in a way that really lands. Just because something feels unfamiliar does not mean it's wrong. In fact, it might be the clearest sign that something is changing. Because what's familiar isn't always what's aligned. And what's aligned doesn't always feel familiar right away. And your body is leading this. What I've come to see over and over again is that this kind of change doesn't start in the mind. It starts in the body. Your body is the first place that knows something is different. It's in the pause you didn't have before. The breath you take instead of reacting. The way your nervous system doesn't escalate the way it used to. And maybe you don't even recognize it at first. But then later, you think back and realize, wow, I handled that differently. That's not accidental. That right there is integration. And the power of the pause. Oh, and all I want to say here for a moment, because the pause, that space between what happens and how you respond, that's everything. That's where choice lives. That's where awareness turns into action. And for so many people, that space didn't exist before. It was automatic. Trigger, reaction. Feeling, action. Discomfort, escape. But now, there's space. Even if it's just a second, even if it's just a breath, that space changes everything. And this is exactly why I created the 7-day nervous system reset. Because we can talk about awareness all day long. We can understand our patterns. We can even recognize them in real time. But if your body doesn't feel safe enough to pause, you'll go right back to what's familiar. Not because you want to, but because your nervous system is trying to protect you. The reset is designed to gently guide your body into a different experience. One where slowing down feels safe. One where pausing becomes available. One where you don't have to override yourself to change. You can actually support yourself through it. So if you've been listening to this series and thinking, I get it, but I don't always feel like I can do it. That's your next step. I'll make sure it's linked to you. So let's come back to that moment where you responded differently. Because here's the truth. That version of you, it's not something you have to create. It's something you're learning to trust. And trust takes time. Trust isn't built in a second. It can be torn down in a second, but it takes a long time to build because your mind will question it. It will try to pull you back into the old patterns. It will say things like, "Are you sure you shouldn't say more? What if they misunderstand you? What if you're being too distant? What if this changes the relationship?" And those questions, they're not wrong. They're just familiar. But the deeper question is this: what actually feels true for you now? Because identity is not something you decide once. It's something that you live moment by moment. And every time you choose not to overextend, not to overexplain, not to take on what isn't yours, you're reinforcing something new. Not loudly, not dramatically, but consistently. And consistency is what makes it real. So the next time you notice one of these moments, I don't want you to brush past it. I don't want you to minimize it. I don't want you to think, oh, that's not a big deal. Because it is. It's a shift in how you relate to yourself. It's a shift in how you move through the world. It's a shift in who you are becoming. And those shifts, they deserve your attention. You don't have to announce your growth. You don't have to prove it. You don't have to explain it anymore. But you do need to notice it. Because when you notice it, that's when you strengthen it. And when you strengthen it, you begin to trust it. And that trust, that's what allows you to keep moving forward without going back. If this conversation resonated with you, if you felt yourself somewhere in this, I'd love for you to stay connected to this work. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, share with someone who might need to listen to this as well, and keep showing up for yourself in these small, meaningful ways. And if you're ready to go deeper, if you're ready to move from understanding into truly feeling and living this work, check out the 7-day nervous system reset. Because this isn't just about changing your thoughts, it's about changing your experience and learning how to live from the version of you that is already becoming real. Until next time, I'm Mary Beth Rim.